What's up, everybody? 1 week ago, I did an experiment where I decided to task the new Grok 4 model with making predictions on Polymarket. I bet $1,000 split between 4 different markets with almost no human input. Basically just asked Grok, what are the probabilities you would assign to each outcome in this market? And then I made the bet. In about 15 seconds, I'm going to show you the results of that experiment. And then I'm going to upgrade. I'm going to pay $300 for Grok 4 Heavy. And I'm going to use Grok 4 Heavy, which is their state-of-the-art model, to help me bet $2,000 on Polymarket. Obviously, $300 is a pretty big expense for a YouTube video, so I'm really hoping that the bets go even better this time. I'm going to do a little bit more human work to show you how I would actually use Grok 4 Heavy to the maximum in order to make good bets. So without further ado, let's go and click on our portfolio. And right away, you can see that we made $41 off of that $1,000. The biggest bet that's actually completed so far is the pump fund market cap bet. We bet $250 and we made $402 back. This bet is obviously driving the main return of the entire portfolio during this time period. Although we are making a little bit on the odds that Trump lowers tariffs on Canada, but we're still about a week and a half away from that bet concluding, so it's hard to know if it's going to end up profitable or not. As far as the other two bets go, we are currently slightly down on the GDP growth bet, but again, that market is unresolved, so it's still wait and see. And we are down a lot on the next CEO of X bet. As you might recall, we did market orders for a lot of these, and it was a low liquidity market, which was a really big mistake. That's a good lesson. But still, hey, $41, I will take it. So because this experiment was more or less successful, let's double our bet up to $2,000, upgrade our model so that we're using Grok 4 Heavy, and really dive in to some good prompt engineering and really spend a little bit more time picking the right markets to maximize our chances of success. Hopefully we can make that process into something more repeatable so that anyone at home would actually be able to use that in their own process in doing research for Polymarket bets. That said, this video is for informational purposes only and is not for financial advice. Obviously with Polymarket, you can bet on pretty much anything, but that doesn't mean that you want to bet on anything. So here's some of the principles that I'm operating on. While I did pull together some markets myself that I think match the criteria, we have Grok Heavy now, just shelled out $300. So we might as well use it to help us select the markets as well. So let's go ahead and run that and see how Grok 4 Heavy does. So that was running for about 5 minutes, and then I got a message that said that Grok was interrupted. Okay, so we tried that a couple times, and for some reason, Grok 4 Heavy does not want to answer this question. I think it could be that there might be something about betting that goes against the terms of service or something like that. I'm not sure. But let's go ahead and jump over to a market that I think matches some of this criteria. And this is this one. Han Duck-Soo in jail by August 15th. So we went ahead, copied that into Grok. Very important to always use the specific rules that Polymarket has in their rules section here, because that's actually what's used to determine the resolution of the market. And then I asked to please show all analysis, search sources in Korean, and come up with a specific probability between 0% and 100%. So let's go ahead and run that through Grok Heavy, and hopefully we'll actually get an answer this time. So after about 5 minutes, we got our result, and it's pretty interesting. Basically, there was a big breakdown of a little bit of background on the case, what the current date is, so it knows how many days we have left before the market resolution. It says it used multiple tools, web search with snippets, web search and browse page, and also searched in Korean like I asked it to. Then it went through a couple different steps. First, what is the current status? Next was key developments leading to potential detention. Finally, it was factors influencing probability, including pro factors, which increase the likelihood, and con factors. and then a probability calculation. The first probability it gives us is the probability that there's a warrant requested for Duck Sue's arrest by August 10th. So it gives an 80% chance of that. Then the probability that the court actually approves that warrant, and it gives a 70% chance. And when we take those two chances in series, that gives us a 56% chance. But Grok actually adjusts this up because the investigation has accelerated post July 10th. And so all that together, it gives us a final probability of 65%, is way, way higher than the current odds of 30%. So I've went ahead and added an extra $2,000 to make these bets. Brings our total Grok Polymarket portfolio up to $3,032. I guess there's some price movements in some of those other markets we're still involved in. But looking at the order book, I'm trying to figure out, I want to bet $500 on this market. So I'm going to put in this limit order at 30 cents, which will buy up these 500 shares here. And then it will stay as an open order for another 1,100 shares. And so even if this one bet is successful, it will return almost the entire portfolio. So that's pretty crazy, especially given the difference in Grok's odds versus the current Polymarket odds. Who am I to doubt super intelligence, like I said last time? So let's go ahead and put in this order. All right, that order is done. Let's go ahead and look at another market, which I think actually will be interesting. And that is the 1,350 plus measles cases in the US before August. Obviously, there's a lot of different sources of information on this, lots of different models and things that you could do, and I don't think any hedge funds have a measles model, although there are historical data, and this is a more quantitative, probabilistic kind of market, so it's possible. But let's go ahead and see how Grok Heavy does. All right, so using the same process, we copied in the rules. We asked it to show its analysis, look at social media, federal and local sources, and historical trends, and then to give a final probability between 0 and 100 for this measles case, which ends in August. And I'm sure that these odds are going to be changing a lot as we get closer to that date. So let's go ahead, let our army of agents go out and do the research, and we'll see what it says in about 5 minutes. So we still have Grok working on that. It's been almost 4 minutes. So while Grok is working on that, I pulled up another market, and it is another Israeli strike on Yemen in July. So this market meets all of our criteria. The liquidity is okay, but it's not quite good enough for any of these like big players to get involved. And yeah, let's go ahead and run that through Grok and see how it does. Again, we have our other market in process, and now we're opening up a new tab, and let's run this market. And this one, pretty much the same prompt. All right, so as you can probably tell, it's been a few hours because I just couldn't get Grok to complete with the prompts. So I decided to take a break. It came back, it wasn't working. And so eventually I asked Grok for how I should do the prompts so that Grok Heavy actually doesn't break when I use them. And it said to split it up into a few different questions. And so I did that, and it ended up working. So we went back, and I saw, it's interesting, there actually were not that many confirmed cases over the last couple of years. So even the number 1,300, it's really high, especially, you know, given that's the highest in the last 15 years. That said, it says that it's from one outbreak in Texas, and that outbreak is slowing down. And so what it actually says is that the main outbreak, which is in Texas, is slowing significantly, and only a handful of new cases per week. US-wide, there were 29 outbreaks, but most are small or waning. Basically, it's saying, bottom line, is that there's a 30% chance that we hit 1,350 measles cases. And if we go to the Polymarket, it's at 63% chance. So we're going to go ahead and put a buy in here worth $500, and we're going to buy that it is not going to reach that level. And again, this is one of those cases where Grok Heavy is on the completely opposite side of the bet as Polymarket is right now. 30% is very small compared to 63%. So hopefully what that means is that Polymarket is way off. But in the meantime, looking at the order book, I think I might just put in a no bet. In the interest of the video, normally I would put in a limit order here at 37 cents, and whether or not it fills, if it didn't fill, I just would find a new bet. But in this case, because we want this video to be good, I'm going to put in a limit order at 40 cents, which theoretically with the Grok odds is still going to be super profitable. And let's go ahead, and then we're going to put in a buy for 1,250 at this limit price of no, which will give us most of those shares right away, and then the last couple will be as an open order there. So let's go ahead and make that trade. Okay, boom. So now if you look at our positions, we have almost all of those no shares, and then we have a few more in this open order here. So that is $1,000 bet using Grok Heavy, and both markets, the odds were way different than here on Polymarket. Okay, so we are back with another market that meets our criteria, has more or less enough liquidity, and we got another interesting answer from Grok Heavy. So right now it predicts a 60% chance, more or less, of another Israeli strike on Yemen in July. This is Polymarket. But we asked Grok to do this, and we fed it the rules. And the final answer that Grok gave us is only 30%. So basically flipping the probabilities there. And I was looking at some of the Grok reasoning. One of the interesting things was it was using some advanced probabilistic modeling, specifically using Poisson distributions for rare events. So it's thinking beyond just kind of, dumb math, which makes sense because theoretically, one of the things that Grok Heavy did really well at is this advanced test for AIs that's designed to ask PhD level questions in different fields. So yeah, given all that, let's go ahead and make the bet. Feeling pretty good about the bets that we have lined up, honestly. Mostly just given that Grok is so far off of the Polymarket odds. Maybe that's a red flag and I should be checking something, to make sure, like doing some kind of sanity check to make sure my odds are okay. But the logic has seemed sound. And these are hard things to judge for humans too. So let's go ahead and look at the order book. I'm checking here because if you put in a limit order that sits in this blue area that you see between these prices, you actually get rewards from Polymarket. In this case, they're $20 a day, which is a nice bonus. I'm going to put in an order at the spread, so at 41 cents. I'm going to go ahead and put in my $500 buy. So looking at the order book, there wasn't a ton of liquidity in this market. It would be pretty bad to fill my bet. I'd have to go all the way up to 46 cents. So I went ahead and put an order first in line at 41 cents. So hopefully that will go through. Okay, so we finally have our last market. Since we did good on the pump fun market cap market in our first video, why not bet on the airdrop with Grok? So I asked Grok, what are the odds that Pump Fun will have an airdrop by July 31st? And believe it or not, these odds are 25%. Grok thinks that it's 75%. It even says that it's accounted for a moderate risk of delays due to technical issues and shift in plans, but it's pretty well above the 25%. So let's go ahead and bet yes on the Pump Fun airdrop. So we're going to put in a limit order. Let's go ahead and do it at 24 cents, and we will bet enough to get us $500 worth. So that ends up being over 2,000 shares, and that would actually pay back the entire experiment if this one came true. It's a little bit of a lower probability bet, but let's go ahead and put that in. So there you have it. We have now bet $2,000 based on what Grok Heavy told us to do. And honestly, it's been a little bit difficult. Almost always it broke after 5 or 6 or 7 minutes before giving us an answer. And it actually took me hours just to find 4 markets that I could get an answer on. So I'm not too impressed with Grok Heavy yet, but it did have good logic when it actually gave us an answer on the bets, and we have our $2,000 worth of bets in. So hit the subscribe button if you want to see when I post this next video. And I was actually thinking if I hit 10,000 subscribers of doing a $10,000 bet on Polymarket. So you can help us get there, and it will give me an excuse to gamble all of my money. But I need an excuse, so please subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video where we'll look at the results of Grok.